It's been a while. I feel like I haven't been here for a while, and it's nice to be back. We're doing our June show. We have some great guests today. We have John Asher, who directed the movie Poe, which you all have to run out and see. And we also have Nava Paskowitz-Asner, my wife, and we're going to talk about all sorts of wonderful stuff. Um, I wanted to do my opening on a basically it's going to be kind of like a review of a review of a film. I had the great pleasure of watching Roger Wass Williams' wonderful film Life Animated last night, and I was touched. I was moved. It was exciting. It made me happy, and I just want to say that before I had seen this film, I've met Ron Suskind. He's a great guy, really interesting guy. I've read his book and thought his book was great. And I read the New York Times review of this movie, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I guess they didn't really do their job. And unfortunately, I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to do that. And I just want to say, if you read a review of any movie, you always have to jump off your own cliff. Don't let anyone make you jump off a cliff that you don't want to jump off. I was a little reluctant to see the movie because I heard it was, I'd seen this review, and I'm very upset with myself that I let the New York Times get into my head and really talk me out of wanting to see this, because I thought it's probably one of the best documentaries I've seen on autism. It's inspiring, and I think everyone should run out and see it. This is Life Animated. It's when you're going through this as a parent, you look. I always say that autism is like a locked door. You have a locked door and a million keys, and you keep trying keys, and you try a key and it doesn't work. You try another key. You go through thousands of keys, and none of them work. Finally, you find one key and you open up that door, and there's another door, and that door's locked, and you have 999,000 keys that you're going through, and hopefully one of those will work. So for Ron Suskind and his wife, Disney was the key. Disney was the key, and the story is told beautifully. And from the diagnosis and the regression to his first glimpse that there might be a way in to his son. And the wonderful thing is that he found a way. They found a way into their son. In the review, they talk about. I'm just going to read some excerpts from the review, and then I want to talk a little bit about it. The disparity between what we want for our children and what they might achieve can be especially painful for parents of autistic youngsters. Yet you'd barely know that from Roger Ross Williams' relentlessly cheerful documentary. Now, Life Animated. Now, I thought some of the movie was cheerful, but to see parents going through what Ron and his wife are going through, that is obviously this writer is missing something in what she saw, because what I saw were two people on an island, completely unable to motivate their lives until they were able to communicate with their son. So I don't know what the writer missed in that, but not that there aren't some misty moments, as the writer and journalist Ron Suskind and his wife Cornelia recall how their son Owen suddenly became silent at the age of 3. It's like we were looking for. Okay, so I'm going to skip. Consequently, as Owen consistently more daring than his director, acquires a girlfriend in an assisted living apartment, all very inspiring stuff to watch. Mr. Williams' decision to prioritize his subject's point of view feels frustratingly restrictive. Belaboring the cartoon connection, the director leaves the family family struggles that enrich Mr. Suskind's 2014 book. Only when we listen to Walt Suskind Owen's devoted older brother, contemplate the burden that lies ahead, does the film crack its upbeat veneer and expose a much-needed nerve? I agree with that. I mean, I think Walt gives a side that we very rarely see on film, the side of the sibling, and how much weight is on him, and how everything he does in life, he is thinking about the possibility and the reality that he is one day going to have to take care of his younger brother. But I thought about this after I read this review, and I thought, you know, a lot of people are going to read this review and not see this film, and I think that's a tragedy, because this is a very different film about autism. It's not a film about diagnosis. It's not a film about anything other than finding that way to reach your child, finding that way to communicate with your child, finding that way in. And that is gold, and we should all watch that. I think society should watch that, because we need to find a way into our children's lives. They don't need to find a way into our lives. We need to find a way into their lives. And this film really tells that story beautifully. So if you've decided not to see that film because of the New York Times article, I urge you to go out and erase that from your mind and go and see this film, because it is brilliant. Ron is brilliant. His wife is brilliant. His Walt is brilliant, and Owen is beyond brilliant. And they're an inspirational family to watch. And I tell you, I give it a 10. The film is a 10. It's a very touching, wonderful documentary that I think you all should go see. And let's all hope that we can all find the key to some of these doors, because that's what we need. That's what we need. All right, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to have the director, John Asher, who has a new movie, Poe, coming out, which is another great film about autism. We will be right back with John Asher. Yes. All right, welcome back. This is On the Spectrum with Matt Asner, and I'm bringing in our first guest, my good friend John Asher.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. John has a new film coming out called Poe, and I was lucky enough to be one of the first people to see Poe, I think.
Yeah, you were.
California.
You were.
And was mightily impressed. And I think I told you at the screening that I was at.
Yeah.
Now, I had not seen the film when I made my opening statement.
Right.
I just kind of knew what it was about, and I kind of, and I'm sitting there during this first screening, looking at this film, knowing that I just introduced a film that I hadn't seen, and I was watching this incredible film about a father and a son, and I thought to myself and I think I said something in my opening remarks that, and I kind of knew what the film was about, but I said something in my opening remarks about looking deeper into things and not always thinking things are what they seem.
Right.
And that's very much a theme that kind of goes through the whole film. And what impressed me most about this film, we're going to talk about the film, we're going to talk about why you did it.
Sure.
What impressed me most about the film is that it's a film about a father who has a son with autism, and it's about their life together. The mother has passed away, unfortunately, and he's a single dad raising his son, and the son is, for the most part, limited verbal, non-verbal, limited verbal.
Yeah, he's limited.
Limited verbal. Yeah. So why don't you tell us, you're an autism dad.
I am.
So tell us, I'm assuming that that's the reason you wanted to make this film, but kind of tell us why you decided to make Poe.
Well, it was kind of twofold. I was going through a divorce and having a 3-year-old with autism. It's a lot going on at once. And I feel like, looking back on things, the divorce was really generated from us not knowing what to do with our child.
Right.
Because and then we couldn't agree on who was doing what right. You know what I mean? What's the best way for him to go to bed at night? What's the best way to talk to him? What's the best way to get him to play with his toys typically? You know, and it was always, no, you're not doing it right, or well, you're not doing it right, and we just couldn't agree. And the best thing ultimately was for us to separate, which was really hard because I was really in love. And I was going through a lot of the blame game for myself, that taking on the responsibility. Am I the reason my son's autistic? Is it because of me? Is it something I did? Is it genetic? You know, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure it out.
And that's something that I think everyone goes through that. Everyone goes through that list of things, and right? I mean, that's.
I can only speak from my own experience, but I can tell you that I had instant accountability, and I remember before Evan was born, I used to manage bands, and I was sleeping in a boathouse up in San Francisco with this rock and roll band, and I was laying on the floor, and I just hung up the phone with my wife, and she was about 8 months pregnant, and I kept thinking, I can't wait to hold him, and I can't wait till he's playing baseball and he's doing everything that's so typical in what I'm imagining, and then, you know, this little surprise comes out, and definitely just put me on a different path, and I think it's a more awesome path, I guess, than, you know, I mean, I don't know, because I don't have a typical child, but I just think it's just a very mind-blowing experience. And when did your son start showing signs of autism? You know, it was weird. There's things that I couldn't pick up on that I would never know because I was a first-time parent, but he was reading really early, like really early, like 1.5. He was like duck, turtle. I mean, just like bam, 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 out of a book. And I wasn't sure if he was memorizing or what was going on. I wasn't sure what was happening. But there wasn't a lot of eye contact, you know? So I didn't think anything of it then. I think my mom had brought it up to me, and she was like, you know, he's not really... And the way he would play with toys, like truck was always upside down, and he would just spin the wheel. I was like, man, he's fascinated with the... But to me, I just thought it was kind of cool. And then it progressed. I mean, escalators were out of control. I could not go to the mall without going on an escalator at least 10 times, you know? And he'd be like, escalator, and I'd be like, all right, let's go. And we would just go and go and go. But I need to circle back to the film and what. Well,
before you get to before you get back to the film, when I took Will to New York, I went on the subway with him to Coney Island.
Right.
Okay, and Coney Island was closed because of the hurricane when I was there.
Right.
I went on the subway with him to Coney Island 9 times, and you know what that's like, right?
Yes,
that's an hour, you know.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, but I understand completely about escalators. I get it. It's I get it. As a dad, I get it. So I'm sorry. Let's go back to the film,
which is, you know, it takes us back to I'm moved out, and I've got a roommate now. I'm 30 some odd years old, and I have a roommate again. Like, I was like, what's happening? And he was a producer. His name's Darby Parker, and he had this script called Poe, and he brought it in to me, and he said, you should take a look at this. And of course, I couldn't set it down, and I came out of the room, and I was crying, and I couldn't stop crying because I was like, oh, somebody else is going through what I'm going through. Like, you know, even the writer, you know, and Colin Goldman, who wrote it, he has a son on the spectrum, and it's based on a true story of Steve Roberts, and he and his son, where his wife did pass away, and he is now single father raising his child. There's stuff left to the imagination with Poe's imagination in particular.
Right.
In the original draft, Poe used to talk to an elephant in his imagination, and the elephant would talk to him. And we just didn't have the money to get a talking elephant. They're very expensive.
Well, you know what? Honestly, Inside Out took care of that, so I think you're okay.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I kind of in my imagination, and I'm not sure, but I feel like sometimes my own son looks at me, and he's like, everything's fine. Like everything's like, I don't know what you're so stressed. What are you so stressed about? You know. And it's really, I feel like at some point it's us. We're the ones that's trying to, you know, fit a round peg into a square hole, whatever it is. That it's us trying to make them conform to society. rather than us conform to them, which is probably pretty amazing, I think, on their side. You know, like
We're all neurotic creatures, and,
Yes.
and we all want what's best for our families.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
when we see something, when we see a roadblock in the path of our children,
yeah,
that becomes pretty horrifying to
Yeah.
us, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we have to do whatever we can to get and so in the movie, Poe,
Yeah.
you see this father. He's doing everything he can.
Yeah.
He's really kind of struggling to get through his business life.
yeah,
Because when you're a single parent, I think, and having a job becomes more and more difficult, especially when you have a limited verbal child at home who has therapies, you know.
and his
constantly.
wife was probably holding down the fort in that aspect.
Right.
She was at home,
The anchor.
and she was the one taking him to the ABA therapy and to school, and really being hands-on mom. And then she passed away, and now all of the responsibility is turned on to him. That, you know, I'm really lucky. I mean, Evan's mom is amazing, and he has a really awesome life in Chicago with a bunch of friends. But for me, the reason the script was important for me is that the fact that the mom did pass away, you know, that kind of loss of a loved one, whether it be physical or in a separation, was something that clicked with me. And then just the wanting to connect with my son so badly. One of the things in the movie is, you know, it took me a long time to teach Evan, and this is something that I definitely wanted to teach him, was to give a hug. Like, he just couldn't. He would turn his head to the side, or I was like, that's not a hug is such a magical, it's just that feeling. And now he's 14, and he hugs me like crazy. And he also says, "Dad, you promise you'll cuddle with me forever." And I was like, "Dude, I'll cuddle with you until you're 50. I don't care." Like, you know, I want.
I agree.
And yeah, so.
There's something special about that. I think I've been very lucky to have all of our children who are on the spectrum. We have 3 in the house.
Wow.
They're all affectionate. They all hug. They all kiss. Well, Will doesn't kiss, but he hugs. And you know, there's holding hands. You know, I don't think I would have held my dad's hand when I was 13 or 14, but you know, the fact that Will still does that, I think, is a beautiful thing.
It's
you know?
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think right after the film, right after when I saw the film, I went up to you and I said, you know, look, I just want to tell you, I think this film made me feel things that I haven't felt since I saw the first film about autism that affected me like this, and that was Temple Grandin. You really get inside the world of autism, and you really kind of let the viewers in to that world, so that you can understand and you can move with the character, and it's beautifully done. And I'm not going to kind of go into it too much. We have a trailer we're going to see in a couple of minutes.
Awesome.
But I really love the way you did that.
Thank you.
And you know, Shannon Penrod, who has autism-live, we're part of autism-live. She told me that there are a lot of people who worked on the film who have children with autism. Is this true? And how many people on this film work?
A lot.
Yeah?
A lot, which lets you know how staggering the numbers are.
Right.
And this is why we do what we do, and why you do what you do.
And is this
Right?
something? Is this something you discovered during the filming, or?
I mean, some of it, yeah. I mean, we were having a really hard time finding the dad. We were having a hard time. It's a small movie, you know. A lot of actors were like, nah, it's not for me. But Christopher Gorham came along, and I met with him, and I think this is the first time he's really gone public, because at the meeting we had, he said, you know, my son is on the spectrum. And I was like, oh, that's great. And he said, this script blew me away. I have to do it. I have to do this movie. I was like, great. Well, that's another one, right? So we've got both the writers. We got the lead, the father, myself, and then Jack. If you remember Jack in the movie, he's got a few roles in the film, played by Andrew Bowen, and he's been on autism-live.
Yeah.
His son Reese.
That's right.
Has autism. And then a crazy, amazing, magical thing happened. I was flying from Newark to LA.
This is a great story.
Right?
Yeah.
And this guy comes on the plane. He's an older man, And he says, "Hey, can you help me with my coat?" And I was like, "Who is this guy?" I was like, "All right." So I help him with his coat. I put it in the thing, and then he's putting Neosporin up his nose. And I was like, "What is going on?" Then he offered me. I was like, "No, I'm fine." And then he continued to talk to me a lot on the plane, and I was like, "Man, this guy." And then I said, "What do you do?" Finally, I'm engaging. What do you do? And he's like, "I'm in a band." I was like, "How is this guy in a band? He's like 70 years old. He's not in a band." I don't. And then I get to talk about myself for a second. I'm very excited. I'm a director. Oh, what are you doing? Well, I'm about to make this movie. It's about autism. And I could just see his face change. And he said, "My daughter was autistic."
Yeah.
And it turns out I'm sitting next to Burt Bacharach. And his daughter, Nikki, who unfortunately took her own life, had autism. And he has scored the whole movie. And he also wrote an original song for the movie. And I can't tell you who came on board yet because we haven't publicly announced it. But a very, very major star came on to sing the song for us. So we now have a new original song that's in the film.
I'm intrigued. I want to know who it is.
I'll tell you after, but I can't tell you.
Okay.
I can't tell you.
All right.
I can't tell anybody publicly.
Well, I'll have to
But that's
swear
how
a
we
gag
found
order.
Burt. So Burt scored the whole
That's
movie.
incredible. Burt Bacharach, who's arguably one of the greatest songwriters and musicians.
And I didn't know who he was until I called my mom.
All
She
from
was
the
like,
plane
"Call
ride."
him back." Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Well, we're going to take a look.
Here, mid-swing on this wonderful day, this wonderful walk with Mr. Matt Asner. Talk to us about today's walk. Do we have any facts, figures, numbers, or just pure emotion?
Just pure emotion. I'm about to get the numbers. We'll see what it is.
Okay.
I think it's probably close to 1.6, probably. That's my feeling. But it's incredible. We had 55,000 people plus here today, and honestly, I've been here 7 years. It gets better and better and better. So.
And really, what you fostered here today is hope. I know that's your favorite four-letter word.
Where are we without hope?
Where are we?
Really, I mean, seriously, where are we without hope? Hope is everything. Hope is eternal.
This is a pretty big event. Every year, I love it. What does this event mean to you?
Well, I just think it's great that you see so many people coming out to support, autism.
So we're here with Max Burkholder. There's a whole community of people that are going to love you no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, and that's the autism community. Are you okay with this? Is this a good thing?
I'm pretty okay with it. This seems to be a pretty happy, supportive community.
Well, what did you learn about autism through portraying this wonderful character?
Sort of the individuality of it, like with autism spectrum disorders, a tendency is to sort of generalize everybody with sort of the same degree of affliction as sort of exactly the same, and very generalize them a lot. But something I found while just talking to everybody, and that I tried to put into the characters, just the sense of individuality that all of them have, everybody has. And so at a certain point it became not really even portraying autism, it just sort of became portraying the character.
I want to thank you on behalf of everybody for what you do.
That's very sweet.
To bring awareness and to raise money. That's a tremendous, tremendous legacy. But as a dad, you've got other things that you're doing as well.
Yeah.
I want to know, as a family, if you have any advice, what's been something that's been helpful to you personally?
Get your autistic kids out in the community. I mean, my son's got a guide dog, so he goes to a lot of cool places. He surfs, he skis, does gymnastics. He's actually trying Hebrew school. I'm not quite sure if he knows what's happening there, but he does all kinds of cool things, and he has a lot of friends Right now, most of his friends are the adults who take care of him, and over time, hopefully he'll have more friends who are his age, and you'll see him walking around, and people won't be nervous around him. The dog's been very helpful with that. It's like the dog is like the most infectious thing in the world. Like everybody wants to be near the dog, and he sees that, and he gets some of that affection laid onto him. So, as a family, you know, we're just there to support Tyler and make him happy.
Welcome. This is Shannon Penrod, and if you're watching us right now, you may have been having some sound issues, and you may have noticed that we stopped and started again, and even stopped in the middle of an interview. We are having some technical issues, and first of all, my deepest apologies to everybody who's watching, and most especially my deepest apologies to Matt Asner, everybody at Autism Speaks, and to John Asher and Nava Paskowitz, who is coming up in this wonderful, I'm just going to say this, we have the show, it's recorded, and it's absolutely wonderful. I think it's the best on the spectrum there is. We promised it to you this morning, but we are having technical issues with playing the recording that we did yesterday afternoon. So we're gonna stop that because we have to continue on with the show that we have planned. But we are going to find a time as soon as we figure out what the issue is. We do have it recorded. We're gonna find that for you so that we can get it to you. If you can hear me, we're working through. Here is what being an autism parent has taught me. Life is full of challenges, and you just keep going, like the Energizer Bunny. You just keep going, and you try to learn from what's happening, because we are having some technical mishigosh, right? But great show that we will show for you another time. Great show coming up. In fact, Nancy Allspot-Jackson is going to be joining me in just a minute. First, we're going to go to the A word. Then we're going to come back. We have Vince Redman, and Cornelia Susskind is going to be with us. She is the mom featured in Life Animated. Such a great film. We're going to be talking about that with her. After these messages, watch the A word. Then let's talk autism with Shannon and Nancy. Stick with us, my friends. Stick with us.
One time duck song, okay?
Mike warns Jack Riley that he will be allowed to watch the duck song one time only. He does this so Jack Riley can anticipate what will happen once the song finishes. Transitions are difficult for him and others with autism because they have a hard time anticipating what comes next. Because of this, they have a hard time planning ahead and being flexible. These skills are considered executive functions.
You guys have to watch this duck song. Oh my gosh! I gotta turn the music. I gotta turn the sound.
And he said to the man, run in the stand, hey, bump, bump, bump. Got any grapes? The man said, look, this is getting old. I mean, lemonade's all we've ever sold. Why not give it a go? The duck said, how about no?
How about no?
Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Till the very next day.
Okay, go. Why not give it a go? Yay!
All done.
Say bye-bye, duck.
Bye-bye, duck.
Bye-bye, duck.
Bye-bye. No. Oh, no.
Bye-bye, duck. Later.
You know, anger's a cool thing at different times, but not right now.
Hey, we'll watch it again later. Say bye-bye, duck.
Bye-bye, duck.
Say, I'll miss you. I'm sad.
I'm sad.
I'm sad.
I'm sad. I'm sad.
It's okay.
Learning how to transition is a life skill. Every day, one is constantly transitioning from one activity to the next, and he needs to cope with changes without tantrums and not be fixated on doing the same activity repetitively. Watching the duck song is incredibly reinforcing for him, and he needs something just as interesting to transition to.
Hey, Jack, here's Dad waddling. Waddle, waddle. Waddle away, waddle, waddle. Waddle away, waddle, waddle.
There you go.
Oh, the big old shark's gonna get you.
I'm gonna swim and get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, he's been really good about saying what he wants lately. We've really been pushing language a lot.
More shark. More shark. Okay, ready? What should we play?
Tassel.
Tozzle? Well, tozzle's for brushing your teeth. Do you want to brush your teeth? Tozzle's this game on his iPod that he only gets when he brushes his teeth. Say, Mommy, I want tozzle.
You want Tozzle?
I don't know if that means he wants to brush his teeth.
It means he wants
or-
Tozzle, but sometimes we brush his teeth to get him to get it. Show me E. Show me ah. Good job. He doesn't like it when I look because he knows I'm going to take it away. I'll count you down before I take it away, okay?
Cheryl's tactic to help Jack Riley transition to the next activity is to count him down. He understands that once she reaches 1, that the preferred item will be taken away.
No lollygagging. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ready? Okay. Toothbrushing. We're gonna go like this. Hey, that's not how we do it. Watch Mommy. Can you do that? Do that. 1, 2, 3. Yay! Good job.
Yay, Zach, ready?
Good
tozzle.
job.
That was pretty good.
5, 4, 3. Sit down.
Hi, buddy.
Sit down.
Brushing?
3, 2, 1. Yes, I know you know. Okay, we're gonna go bottoms. Like that, okay? Ready? You can do it. 1, 2, 3. Yay!
You did it, Jack.
Good
Good
job.
Good job, Jack.
Jack Riley, we're gonna say bye-bye to Tozzle. Are you ready? Can you give me Tozzle? 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome, welcome, my friends, to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Guess who I have here with me in the studio? You'll never guess.
Hey.
We have Miss. There she is,
Hi,
Miss
everybody.
Nancy. She's
How are
back.
you? I'm back.
And
She's
we're having lots of technical issues
That's
this
okay.
morning.
We roll with the flow. I heard you say, one thing us autism moms know, and I'm pulling up here so I can.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so, is that we know how to roll with the punches, don't we? Because you never know what's going to hit
going.
you. Yeah, we on 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, by the way. I was with another autism mom and her family, and we were in Camarillo, California, where apparently it's quite the big story that the fireworks that normally it's like literally thousands of people that come to see this infamous fireworks, and also the Camarillo, California band plays, and they're great. And so we get there really early, we had the picnic and everything, and then the band is playing, and then the band is doing all these John Philip Sousa and, all this Americana stuff. Then they start going into the whole soundtrack of The Phantom of the Opera, and then they start going into the whole soundtrack of Les Mis, and we're starting to get a really bad feeling about the fireworks because they're like, oh, not ready yet. So finally, they said there were technical problems. At 10:30 we leave. And then I guess they made the announcement as we were walking out, but
That they didn't do them ever.
no, but apparently fireworks have become, computer controlled.
Oh, yes.
Which is really kind of sad because back in my TV days, I did a show on a story on the guys, I forgot, it was an Italian name, and
Right.
they set them all
the
up.
Gambini
The
brothers
Gambini, I did a story on them.
from
Yeah.
Long Island,
Yeah, but anyway, talk about a fun experience, leaving with 2 kids on the spectrum who had been waiting for the fireworks, and leaving and having to walk 2 miles back to the car with these 2 kids.
Yeah.
Really disappointed. And, you know, at one point, Marcy and I turned to each other and said, you can't script this stuff. You know, what can we do but laugh?
Right.
Because the whining, the perseveration, the when are we going to see them? When are can we come back tomorrow? You know,
Are they going to do the show eventually?
I
Are they going to
don't
reschedule?
know. I don't know. But
all right. Well, we're
anyway,
rescheduling doing On the Spectrum, so that will come to you guys.
Okay, that'll come later.
That will come later. I promise.
And
we recorded it.
It
there.
really does teach you how to kind of roll with the punches.
You have
know?
to.
What are you going to do?
Exactly. What are you going to do? And you know, Matt and I just tried. Matt Kirkwood, who's here, and now our new
producer,
new
director,
producer.
yeah.
We both were, you know, we were like trying all these different
And by
things.
the way, Matt, it's so nice to have you here.
It
and
is.
We're so grateful to you.
And he's killing it, you guys.
He is. He's doing a
such
great
good job. But we're
with
a
a
boat,
lot of challenges.
We're a boat that has sprung some holes.
What I think happened is I think John and Matt messed up the studio yesterday when they were here. Because I think they had entirely too much fun.
They did have too much fun. They were laughing really hard.
They were laughing really hard, and I think they jinxed it for us. I don't know. Somehow they messed it up.
We've been having problems for a month. I think it's all the heat and the electricity and the age of our show that just some wiring has gone cuckoo.
All right.
And, but anyway, we've got some quick news, and then we've got great guests. We've got Vince Redmond coming up in a few minutes, and then we have Cornelia Susskind,
live animated, which I just watched, and if my eyes are red, Amy will tell you I went through a box of tissues because it brings up so much.
Absolutely.
So much of what.
It's a beautiful, beautiful
so
film. And, you know, I said to you last night, I would be willing to bet that it will be nominated for an Oscar this year. I absolutely.
For documentary.
For documentary, absolutely. I can't imagine why it wouldn't.
It's just beautiful. It's just really so well told. And, well, we're going to talk to Cornelia, which, you know, she in the movie is just such a compassionate, loving mom that every autism mom can relate to. And the feelings and her honesty in the film, and the whole family you fall madly in love with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to get to all of that. We had a couple of news stories, and then we're going to go to a break and come back with Vince. First one that I just added in this morning, there's a study that's coming to us from Spain. Prenatal exposure to acetaminophen may increase autism spectrum and hyperactivity symptoms in children. We've reported
during pregnancy. Okay.
During pregnancy,
which is often prescribed during pregnancy.
Yes. So we've talked a lot about acetaminophen on the show.
Yes.
And I think we only have one camera that's working now because it's on you. No.
Oh, come on
there we go.
here.
No, there we go.
No, you're there.
But anyway, I just was like, it's the Nancy show, and that's fine with me because I have a face for radio. But but in any case, acetaminophen. We've talked about it a lot on the show that more and more people are looking at acetaminophen. This is the first study of its kind showing a direct link. When you look at the way autism has grown over the entire world, and every single place on the earth it has grown in the same rate. There are some hot spots where it's grown a little bit more, but there is one notable place on the face of the earth that has not had the huge increase in autism, and that's Cuba. And people have said, if you look at Cuba, they consider acetaminophen something that should only be given very sparingly.
Really?
Absolutely. And so you have to have a prescription, and they don't give it to pregnant women.
Interesting.
So this is something that needs to be looked at
Well,
further. They found
yet another thing that I think we can add. There's studies now that have definitively linked exposure to pollution during to air pollution and high freeways, car pollution specifically during pregnancy.
Absolutely.
There are and early infancy.
Yes.
There was sort of a definitive thing on lack of folic acid, but then there was a very confusing study that came in.
Yes.
About
so that's being very hotly looked at.
That's
right
being
now.
looked at, and now this, and then older fathers.
Absolutely.
Was definitively linked.
Yes.
And
and obesity in mothers is definitively
linked.
All
So
of these are
we're
factors.
starting to get some pieces of puzzles, but yet there doesn't seem to be anything tying all of these into one list.
I gotta say, though, the newest study about obesity in mothers suggests that L-reuteri, this is what I called you about last week, the probiotic. There's one in particular, L-reuteri, that is what's missing, and that is why, at least in mice, we haven't done a human trial of this yet, that is what's missing that makes the obese mothers more likely to have the children with autism.
Okay.
And so that has something to do with the immune system. So I think we're getting around, every one of them is getting around to immune system.
And then there was the study that I did an interview about out of Caltech. No, not Cal. Yeah, where was it? Was it Caltech with the scientists that studied the probiotics in mice?
I don't know which study you're talking about that you were a part of.
Well, I wasn't a part of. They interviewed me on KCAL about my giving Wyatt probiotics.
Yes,
and
I remember
there was
that
a
interview.
study done. I think it was at Caltech.
Yes, I
that
think you're right.
A scientist did it on mice, showing that a lack of healthy gut flora.
Yes.
Was definitely contributed to autistic behavior in the mice. So,
absolutely, and now they've narrowed it down to that L-reuteri is what's missing.
Okay.
So, but this acetaminophen, what they found, an increase of 30% in the risk of detriment to some attention functions, an increase of 2 clinical symptoms of autism spectrum disorder in boys, much more so in boys than in girls. One of the co-authors, Dr. Judy Julvez, she said that there are many reasons why acetaminophen might have done this. This is in quotes. Paracetamol, which is acetaminophen, could be harmful to neurodevelopment for several reasons. First of all, it relieves pain by acting on cannabinoid receptors in the brain. Since these receptors normally help determine how neurons mature and connect with one another, paracetamol could alter these important processes. It can also affect the development of, wait for it, the immune system, or be directly toxic to some fetuses that may not have the same capacity as an adult to metabolize this drug, or by creating oxidative stress.
Okay.
So, want to encourage pregnant women, stay away from the acetaminophen, according to this study.
Okay. And another study,
yes,
which involves Center for Autism and Related Disorders.
Yes.
Our very own home here. Leading autism provider, Center for Autism and Related Disorders, CARD, announced a joint study with Chapman University about the effects of variables in treating ASD. The evaluation provided up-to-date, scientifically sound evidence to CARD and other autism therapy specialists. They analyzed a pool of more than 800 children between the ages of 18 months to 12 years, and results revealed important determinations in regards to supervision. Shannon, you want to give us the details on this?
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit about some studies that CARD has been doing, and this is another piece of the pie, that what they looked at, everybody wants to know what's the secret sauce to get to the most possible progress that you can get to. And CARD has been doing studies to look at a bunch of different variables to determine what that is. And what they found, first and foremost, in this study is that if you have a BCBA on your case, and the more experience that BCBA has, that your child is more likely to make better progress. That experience that person has, and having gone through the rigorous process of the BCBA, makes a difference. But what they didn't find is that used to be that a lot of providers, we had these lengthy clinics, where we would be there with everybody on the team, especially at CARD, they used to do this.
Right, every 2 weeks.
And every 2 weeks, and
you
it would
go
be
in,
2 hours.
2 hours with your supervisor
and
the
your
team
supervisor.
Of the therapists that worked under them.
Right, and there are new guidelines that the insurance companies have given that don't provide for that.
Okay.
And everybody was kind of up in arms going, well,
how are we going to have everybody on the same page?
If it's effective at making the progress, then why are we cutting the... So CARD studied it and found that it doesn't make a difference to the child's progress. That what determines the child's progress, the 2 factors that they found made a difference and that they saw kids making more progress, was having the BCBA and having experience, and the other one was the number of actual therapy hours. So insurance companies, in their determination of saying, we'd rather have you working one-on-one with the kid instead
Right.
of having a bunch of people learning about working with the kid,
Right.
which one works better for the kid, having the one-on-one with the kid works better. And I realize that that's hard for all of us because we feel
It
like
is.
we need that communication and we want to be a part of, but what we're seeing is that we need to do that in a different way, that the kid needs the hours more than we need that.
Right. The other thing that I think is hard is that hearing that, once again, these massive amounts of hours are so important
Yes.
for those that can't access them. So
Yes,
what's the answer to that?
absolutely. And we have to keep fighting for that. Our fight goes to different areas now because it's insurance, and so often insurance is doing a first pass and saying, oh, we'll pay for 20 instead of the prescription of 40. Everybody needs to know that there is a process through which you can appeal, and you should. That appeals are often going through, but they're eliminating. Insurance companies are for-profit organizations. I mean, they just are. That's the reality of it. And if they can say to all of us, oh, we're only going to give you half of your medicine, and half of us go, okay, look, in my opinion, that's what insurance companies do. But you have to step up and say, no, I'm sorry. And you put in your appeal, and we're hearing that a lot of the appeals are going through.
Okay.
Because they don't have the evidence to back up their initial, no, you get half.
Right, right.
So fight, more
Okay.
fight. All right, we have to take a quick break. And by the way, again, that was from Chapman University. It's in Science Daily today if you want to know more about that study and the ins and outs with CARD. We're going to come back with Vince Redman, and then a little bit later on in this hour, we're going to be with Cornelia Kennedy Susskind talking about Life Animated. So stick with us.
Hey guys, welcome back to Smarty. Today we're going to be making homemade glow-in-the-dark bouncy balls. So let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are 2 mixing bowls, something to stir with, measuring spoons, borax, cornstarch, water, glue, and glow paint and food coloring. So step 1, you're going to take one of your measuring bowls and you're going to measure out half a teaspoon of borax, 4 tablespoons of cornstarch, and 4 tablespoons of water. Then you're going to mix that all together. I'm going to set this aside. In another bowl, I'm going to mix my glue and my glow-in-the-dark paint and any food coloring I want to use to make it a special color. I have 2 separate bowls with the mixtures in them. Now I'm going to put them together, letting them sit for the next 15 seconds, and then I'll stir them together. It's important that you let them sit for a moment before stirring so they can do their magical thing. Now that the 15 seconds is over, I'm going to stir together the mixture, making sure to stir thoroughly until I can no longer do it anymore. You'll see what I mean in a second. Now that I can no longer stir it, I'm going to start rolling around in my hands to make a ball. And voila, very own homemade bouncy ball. Woo! Well, I hope you had fun with this activity today. Until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Walk down the hallway and tell Vince we need to get him on the phone again. We'll put you guys on hold here. I think there's a way that I can mute. I
Okay,
don't.
let me go look for him.
Okay, great. Thanks. No, we don't. We prepare. What are you saying? We have no preparation. We're a leaky boat. In any case, all next week in New Orleans, excuse me. I've been practicing for a week. The Autism
Eat some
Society.
beignets. Oh, they're not on your program.
Yeah, they're not on my program.
Turkey, coffee, and beignets, baby. At the French Quarter.
That's not how I eat. But maybe a crawfish. But so next week, Autism Society of America is doing a big conference in New Orleans. And Vince is going to be there for sure, for shizzle, as they say. It's still up in the air whether or not my son and I are going to be there. We're trying to work that out. So we were going to talk a little bit about that. But in any case, Dr. Doreen Grandpichet is going to be back next Wednesday, and you're going to be here. So you guys are going to pilot the ship without me.
Okay.
Hopefully we're going to plug the holes before I leave so that you guys have it down.
And tell us about the conference. What's it about, besides Autism Society of America?
It's Autism Society of America. They got an amazing lineup of speakers. Dr. Temple Grandin is speaking. I don't know whether she's there live or not. Steve Silberman from Neurotribes is going to be there and going to be speaking. You know, that I'm excited to meet him because he and I perhaps didn't get off on the best possible foot. That he wrote a piece in the LA Times that I took issue with.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest about that. There was something that he said that offended me to the core of my being. My feelings were hurt.
Can you tell us what that is?
Absolutely. He wrote many things in this article, so I don't want to minimize it to this, but sometimes something happens and it touches your feelings and it hurts your feelings. One of the things that he said was that he objected to, I don't know if we have somebody coming online, he objected to Autism Speaks Board of Directors because it was, I understand from what his response to me was that he was less saying that he was offended that there were a bunch of parents on the board as much as he. Hello, Vince, are you with us? You're gonna have to wait for my story to end.
Okay.
Okay, Vince. So sorry, we got you on the phone again. Does this work for you?
That's fine. I was in a session, so I just got out.
Oh, do you want to go back to you're on live right now. We're live right now, my dear. But if if you need, we're only going to keep you for a few minutes. If you want to go back to your session.
No, I'm
okay.
good.
All right. All right,
Okay.
fabulous. But anyway, so I was just briefing Nancy about the fact that you definitely are going to be in New Orleans next week, and that we're hoping that I'm going to be there with you.
I am going, yes.
Yes, I know that your plans got firmed up. Mine are still somewhat left of firm. But so we were talking a little bit about the conference and some of the different people that are going to be there, like Steve Silberman from Neurotribes. And Dr. Grandin is speaking at some point, but I don't know if she's Skyping in. Sometimes she does that. And a wide variety of different things. But Vince, what's your plan for there? What are you going to be doing at the conference?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
Oh, you don't know? Okay.
Well,
mine was confirmed yesterday as well.
Yeah.
I mean, as you and I both know, we were approached, to go out there, and so yesterday was the hey, you need some travel arrangements. So you're going to New Orleans.
Yes.
Fantastic. So when I asked what are we doing, we have an exhibit booth there that's going to be there for obviously displaying the wonders in the wonderful services that we have at CARD and the different things. But I think the reason we were asked is to really show the more the intricate and wraparound services we have for families.
Exactly.
Discussing the integration of the importance of family participation in ABA studies, ABA treatments, and really show that I think the change in it's not just CARD, but the change in the environment, the ABA environment, is looking more at the whole family, looking more at the parents' needs just as equally as the child's needs, looking at the siblings' needs as equally as the child's, those types of things, and then explaining how we do it and all the different services we have with counseling and resources and roundtables and those types of things, but also to demonstrate to the families, because this is one of the biggest conferences in the nation where families are going to be attending. It's more, as far as I understand, and maybe differently, this is more aimed for family attendance rather than professionals.
Absolutely.
So this is where it's good, where we're going to have that. exposure to more families and show not only the trends in ABA, the trends in treatment, but also what we can provide for those families as well. And for me, this is exciting because it is more exposure to families, not necessarily just to professionals.
Absolutely. And I think you hit it right on the money, Vince, that the reason why you and I were asked to go is so that we could talk more about, with people that were there, about the whole family and what it's like to be a parent, and the services that are available through CARD for families. Because one of the things that I'm most proud of CARD is that CARD is adding more and more services to treat the whole family. I got a big wake-up call yesterday about the fact that all that information is not necessarily trickling down to all of our families, which is one of the reasons why I really want to be able to go, is to talk with new families and existing families about what is available. I don't think there's anybody who is working harder on that, Vince, than you are, and making that a reality, for services to be available to families. And now part of my mission is to make sure that every single CARD family knows what's available to them, and to let families who are just starting out or looking, sometimes people are at a place where they might not be starting out, they might be 6 years in, but looking at
or more,
looking at where do I want to shift to know day one what you're coming into at CARD and what's available to you. Because honestly, if you don't know what's available, it feels the same as if it's not there. And I think a lot of people have gotten used to saying there's no resources, I wish there was this, and so honestly, you've worked so hard, Vince. Part of where I need to pick up speed is letting everybody know what you've done.
No, I appreciate that. And again, a lot of it is like you were saying, is the different services and availabilities to make sure all of our families know the resources, which, I mean, obviously you've sparked a concern with me to make sure that we with the growth of treatment, the growth of CARD, we want to make sure all the newer offices in particular are aware of all the services that are available to their families or available to their, but I think at a conference like this, at least for me, I look at a grander scale, right? I want to look at making sure that other agencies, other families see the need and the necessity for this, so that they too can provide better services for the families. Because the more comprehensive services that are out there, the more kids that are going to get serviced.
Absolutely.
The more families that are going to get serviced, and I want more families to get taken care of rather than just one particular individual in the family.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but if I am coming, and like I said, jury's still out, but I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of old friends that I don't get to see very often. And there are a bunch of people that I have not gotten to meet in person. People like Anita Lesko, who was one half of the couple that had the autism wedding.
Oh, right.
She's
and
going
aren't
to be
they doing that conference again this year?
The Autism-live conference,
Yes.
they are doing again.
Okay.
And
that's in San Diego,
yes,
right?
that's
in
typically
August.
in San Diego around August, September-ish.
Okay. We'll have to get
So
them back
looking
on.
forward to meeting her and a lot of old friends like the Pocket OT, Kara Kaczynski is going to be there. Mara Parker is going to be there. Scott Badish will be there. A lot of
Autism
wonderful
Society.
people that we have met along the way, and we enjoy getting to participate with them. So we're looking forward to being all under one, not quite one roof, because conferences are usually under 17 roofs, but you know what I mean. So Vince, I hope I'm there with you. We're figuring it out.
It's all last minute. I get it, and that's obviously hard to do with family and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, but summer's all about that. Roll with the punches.
Roll
I'm
with the
telling you,
punches.
this
That's
summer has
what
been-
the theme of our show is today.
Yeah.
Roll with the punches. But Vince, we thank you for coming out and taking the time to be with us. I'm going to touch base with you a little bit later on today, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
We'll powwow.
We need to do that.
We need to do that.
And we'll talk next month about some more issues affecting our families as a whole.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you,
I apologize
Vince.
for being a little late.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I think we were actually on time and we never are.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you, Vince. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care. Talk to you ladies.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Vince Redmond on the phone. He's a licensed marriage and family therapist. He is the head of Card Family Services, which is a wonderful, wonderful resource. We're going to take a break, and then on the phone, again, we are going to have Cornelia Susskind, one half of the couple that created the young man that is featured in Life. In fact, the whole family is featured in Life Animated.
Yeah.
Both of us had an opportunity in the last couple of days to watch the film, and we're very moved by it. We're going to talk about that.
Potty
with
training
Cornelia
is different for
and
every
hear more
child.
about
A
that.
child can come in
Stick
with
with us.
absolutely, no control over their bladder. And as long as that's not a medical issue, then we can certainly approach it behaviorally and give them the tools they need to be successful, just like any other skill that we would teach.
Well, we think he's learning to pee on the potty. No big successes yet and lots of accidents. Here is the laundry from today.
For some of our kids takes, just a couple days. And then for other kids, it can take months and months and months. And then when you're looking at complete independence, it can take years.
Hey, you have to go pee-pee?
There's a lot of different ways to tell if a child is ready. We look for a couple different things. Probably the most important is parents saying, I need this to happen, I'm ready. Second is, a child showing interest in the bathroom, and some of it is simply age. It's time to go ahead and work on this.
What are you doing? Pooping. You're pooping?
You first start with teaching the child what they need to do on the toilet. The basic thing we want is for them to drink as much liquid as possible. It's inevitable that if you drink a bunch of liquid, you're gonna pee.
No, I can't help you pee. I can hold your hand, but I can't help you pee.
Ultimately, what we want is that, the child, as soon as they're put on the toilet, they urinate. So that's step one. Step two is usually working through the amount of time that they're off of the toilet and making sure that they're not having accidents during the time that they're off. So this is kind of the bladder control stage of things.
So the purpose of the potty log is just to see how long it takes them as soon as they sit on the potty for them to actually urinate, and the amount of time that he's able to hold his urine. And with the log, we're able to visually see how long it takes them each time, and if they have accidents or not. He's on a half-hour potty schedule, so if he doesn't go when we take him, then we have to take him in 10 more minutes. So every 10-minute intervals until he does go, and then we reset the clock, and it's 30 minutes again.
Okay, buddy. Okay, last chance to go pee-pees. Do we reset it for 10? Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean, Jack? It's potty time. We can come right after. Hurry.
What we hope happens in this time is that the kids will learn how to initiate going to the bathroom on their own. This is oftentimes the hardest part of potty training, is because they get so used to somebody telling them when they need to go that they're not really recognizing the signs just in their own body of when they need to go.
Oh, he wet himself.
Big wet? Was it a lot?
We can reset to half an hour now.
The biggest thing for parents is not to give up. The other big tip, and I think pitfall that a lot of parents fall into, is putting their children back into pull-ups or diapers, especially if they're starting to have accidents. And this is probably the worst thing that you can do. They need to recognize that feeling of fullness in their bladder and take themselves to the bathroom, or tell an adult that they need to go to the bathroom.
What do you have to do? You have to put your pee-pee in the potty. Okay, give it a shot. See if you can put it in there. There you go. You're doing it. Yay, Jack. Big fish for your pee-pee. Big for your pee-pee. Yay! Woo! Yay! Good job. What a big boy. High five, high five, high five, high five, high five, high five, high five.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is
is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to, just,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism,
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
a lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them.
Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love. The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
With all of you. I don't know if we're back.
Are
or not.
you on?
Are we back? We're back. We're back. We're back.
Oh, we're back. Okay.
We're back. We're so excited, Nancy and I. We're like 2 Autism Mom fans because we have with us on the phone right now Cornelia Kennedy Susskind. She is the mom who is featured in Life Animated, the wonderful film that we've been talking about that Nancy and I got to see in the last 24 hours. And I was just saying to her on the phone that we're so thrilled that, you know, that it really features the entire family, but we're thrilled that we have Cornelia with us because you're an autism mom and you're, you know, I really want to talk a little bit about who you were before autism because you were an amazing force of your own, a writer who wrote for People magazine, an editor for Family Weekly magazine, a managing editor of New England Living, and later worked on the PBS documentary series Frontline. You were a woman with a career.
Yes.
And a whole lot of things happened when one of your sons ended up regressing into autism. And all of that is brilliantly depicted in the film. We really encourage everybody to see the film. It just came out on July 1st. But Cornelia, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
I assure you it's all ours. But I wanted to start by just, as I was watching the film and I saw this brave, kind, considerate, together woman, and I wanted to know more about her. I wanted to know more about who you had been because clearly, you know, the fact that you homeschooled him for a couple of years, you were clearly articulate and intelligent. And I thought, okay, you know, everybody's a little bit familiar with your husband, who's a Pulitzer Prize winning writer. But I wanted to know more about you and how your life changed when this all happened.
Yeah, that's a great question because it's a question that so many mothers face, whether they stop working or whether they continue with their career. I feel that, you know, as moms of children with autism, people with autism, adults in my case, you know, you're often so defined just by that fact. And of course, your time and your energy is usually channeled in that direction. Mm-hmm. So it is, you know, it's kind of poignant that our past sometimes gets obscured or who we are as people, aside from being just a mom and doing the best we can. I was, as you say, I was a journalist for many years in New York and Washington, D.C. and Boston. And I continue to work. Our older son, Walter, is 2.5 years older than Owen, who is the subject of Life Animated. Walter is also in the film. Mm-hmm. And I continued to work after Walter was born and planned on working when Owen was born, but I did stop working. I worked part-time freelance after Owen was born just because I had 2 kids. And then we moved to Washington, D.C. 2.5 years later, and that is when Owen's regressive autism came to the fore. He had no symptoms whatsoever before.
Right.
So I was planning on going to Washington, continuing as a journalist, and when Owen was diagnosed, I put those plans aside and just focused completely on his care and education and Walter's as well. So I haven't worked as a journalist for a very long time. I sort of work as a shadow editor for my husband. He's a writer of books now. But I've actually gone into creative pursuits that are very fulfilling to me, because even though Owen is 25, I still spend, I would say, a day a week on his life. He isn't living with us, but just managing his care and work and other things that I'm sure you're very well aware of.
Yes, we are. We are. And we're very well aware of that whole career thing that changes drastically when I spent 25 years as a television producer, and Shannon was in theater.
I was a college professor.
And
here we are.
And here we are. It's you know, the only way you can. Go ahead. Go ahead, Cornelia.
Years ago, I had when we were in Boston, rather in Washington, I had a luncheon just so moms could get the heck out of the carpool line and the therapist's office and everything. And I made name tags with our former careers and lives.
That's great.
We really are more than just drivers and interveners and once upon a time.
Well, we want to talk, I just want to kind of give a synopsis for people that have not seen the film yet, because it just came out. Basically, the film is the family's journey as Owen, your younger son, you have 2 sons, as you mentioned, Walt, his older brother, who is just, what an amazing big brother he is, by the way, and your husband, and your journey as Owen regresses, you know, around the age of 3, and you detail that journey, and then how really you and your husband find Owen's voice through animated Disney movies. And then as Owen gets older, you follow the journey to independence, and many twists and turns along the way, many beautiful and uplifting, some very, very emotional and very disturbing, such as bullying, and it's warts and all. And how did that feel, Cornelia, to have, there were a lot of home movies that you had from his early life, and there's also brilliant animation used in the film, and it's based on your husband's best-selling book, I might add. But how did that feel, having the camera at these vulnerable, being so open and vulnerable for the camera about your life?
Well, you know, it was, I'll tell you, in terms of that early footage, this is a little bit of an aside, but I think that other parents can relate to this. In terms of that very early footage, there's a scene in the film where Owen, before he regresses, is playing with my husband in the leaves, playing a game of Peter Pan and Captain Hook. And Owen is, you know, is verbal and engaged and seemingly fine. I had not seen that footage until I was sitting in an audience in Sundance watching the film.
Oh my goodness!
I saw the film for the first time in Sundance in the audience, and we had shot that film right before we left Boston, and by the time we got to Washington, Owen was starting to regress, and I could never bear to look at that footage from the before time. I just couldn't do it. So that, as you can imagine, was incredibly emotional for me. But when Ron and I decided that he was going to write a book about Owen's life, it was, as you can imagine, a very difficult decision and something we talked a lot about. Ron is very public, I'm very private. But Owen had come to us when he was about 19 and said, I wish that people understood who people with autism are and what they're like. And he used the Disney analogy by saying, They don't see me for who I am. I'm a diamond in the rough from Aladdin. And it was at that point only that we felt comfortable even thinking about writing a book about Owen's life, because obviously when he was a child and therapists and people were saying to us, you know, you're writers, you should write a book about autism. We were so in the trenches of every day. There was no possibility that I could step back enough to look at what, you know, couldn't even think about it. But the bigger issue is that it was Owen's life, and his privacy, he didn't have a say in it. And we would never, ever have done something like this without his complete, you know, cooperation and blessing and really ability to understand what we were doing.
Right. You saw that you could become really his voice and show his journey, and that was something he wanted.
Exactly. So it was a big decision. It was a tough decision, especially for me, as I say, to open up our life. And we said to one another, you know, when we were writing the book, it has got to be brutally honest. And that means the good times and the really difficult times, because any parent who has walked this walk will feel that it is completely disingenuous if we don't include the pain. And so we made that decision, and it was a tough one, but I'm really, even though it, you know, I cringe sometimes, especially there's some scenes in the book that I think, oh God, you know, what do people think of me? But, you know, you just have to put it out there, I think, and be really honest, because parents' experience is very real, and they know when something is real, and they know when something is sugar-coated.
And I think the autism parents think you're heroic, Cornelia. I do think, and I don't even want to say where, because I don't want to give it too much attention, but earlier in the show this morning, Matt Asner did a review of one of the reviews that came out for the film, in which the criticism was that you seem awfully joyful. And there are a lot of us that are really befuddled by that. And
I know what you're referring to, and I was so befuddled because do you know what my one criticism of the film is? I have one criticism.
What is that?
And that's so personal. It's that I actually have a really good sense of humor, and I said I come across as the weeping pain mother in every scene. I'm constantly crying, and I'm not really a crier. But, you know, when someone's asking you about so how someone can say that I come across in the film as joyful, I have no idea.
Well,
because
and I think there was joy.
I think who comes across as joyful the most is Owen.
Yes.
Quite frankly.
But there was joy, and you took joy in him.
Yes.
So I don't.
You and your husband.
But the fact that that you're too joyful.
Yeah. No. I agree.
Me.
That was an outrageous comment.
It's just so misguided.
I agree because I think any parent of a child with autism or a person with autism, it's ludicrous. I mean, joy. Of course, I think the root of our story is that we were able to tap into Owen's joy, and we are a joyful family, and we really love one another, and we really have fun. And are there hard times? Sure. Are there very poignant and emotional times? Absolutely. But we're just like any other family, you know.
Well, you say, you know, there's a moment in the film, Cornelia, where Owen asks you, Mom, why does life have to be so hard and so tragic sometimes? There's a moment where something happens that I don't want to give away that is a particularly emotionally painful thing for him, and you say, you know, son, that's the way life is. It has its beautiful moments and its very tough moments, and it's just so honest.
And I got to tell you, I walked away from it going, now there's a woman I would love to be good friends with. I thought, I was like, I so enjoyed you. I so enjoyed you. So you didn't come off as sourpuss at all.
There's another comment made, and I think you make it. I wrote it down in quotes. Who decides what a meaningful life is? Did you say that?
Yeah. I said that to a therapist, and it was a line that Ron actually said to me when Owen was quite young, maybe 8 or 9, and I was really, really in despair. You know, those moments where you just think there's just not a lot of light here, and where are we headed, and how is he going to live? And Ron is so optimistic and positive in his outlook in general, and he just said that to me, and I can't even tell you what an anchor that was for me, and what a bright light. And I referred back to it for years. Who decides? Why is Owen less able to have a full and happy life?
Well,
just because he has challenges.
There's some scenes in the film, and I don't want to give it away, where some pretty impressive people come into Owen's world, and there is so much joy in the room between Owen and other young people with developmental delays and autism and other. And you've never seen such joy on faces, right, Cornelia?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, what they didn't show was me just again crying on this. It was one of the happiest moments of my life. It really was. It really was.
Yeah, one of those moments you cherish. And we should say that we should say that the title Life Animated comes from this sort of epiphany that you and your husband had, that the way to reach Owen was through his obsession with Disney animated films. And it starts with just a term he started saying, juicer voice, which related back to a Disney film, correct?
Correct. So Owen was certainly, using echolali at that point, but he kept referring to using this one word, and it was juicervose. And I, of course, thought he wanted juice, and he was, in fact, reciting a line from The Little Mermaid, just your voice. Because when we watched that film together, he kept saying it, and then there it was, the scene, and we put two and two together, and that gave us great, even though he was practically nonverbal, it gave us great excitement and hope. He was making a connection between what was going on in the sentiment and the meaning of the film to his experience.
And I was able to read something that you had written about affinity therapy, taking the things that our kids find an affinity with and using them. I thought it was particularly interesting. One of the things that you said in the article that I read was that you had been sort of what we call here project manager. Ben, while your husband was working, you had so many things that you were taking care of, but that you really that you expressed, and I'm going to paraphrase, and then you can fill in, but you made him sort of captain in charge of this area of the therapy. And I thought that was particularly brilliant of you, because sometimes the dads get disconnected along the way when therapies are happening. And I thought it was really brilliant of you that you made sure that your husband was front and center in this particular aspect of Owen's development. And I wondered if you could talk just a little bit about that.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, part of it was circumstantial because, as you know, we only have 2 arms and 2 legs in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And part of it was that Ron's personality, and a large part of it, of course, was wanting him to be engaged, and that was never an issue because, though Ron has been a journalist and writer his whole career, he really should be a camp counselor. He has a great ability to connect with children, to do voices, to do jokes, acting, all kinds of stuff. And I'm really not inclined that way. I enjoy it, but I'm not particularly gifted, and he is really gifted. So it was a natural division of labor, because that's what he's good at and that's what he gravitated toward. And he was always extremely involved in the kids' lives. In about 2000, when Owen was, what would that be, 7, right? No, 9. Ron left the Wall Street Journal, where he was full-time, and started writing books full-time. So he also had the great gift of flexibility in his schedule.
Mhm.
And that's very, very important, as you know. And we were
Yes.
very fortunate to have that be the case.
And also your son Walter,
Yes.
really, I have to just say, what a amazing young man he is, and you know, he really comes across as so compassionate, caring, and loving as a brother.
He, you know, it's hard as a mom to not sound, you know, self-congratulatory, but I take little credit. He really was born that way. He's an incredible man. He's almost 28 now. He's 27, and you know, like any brother, like any sibling, there were times when he would rather not hang and not be seen with his brother in middle school and high school. And we worried, you know, is he gonna take off and go in a very different direction and leave Owen behind? But he's an amazing man, and he, on his own, I mean, you know, hopefully the signals and the family life we created gave him the message that we were all in this together. But he's an extraordinary brother, and they're very, very close. I always said we had two children on absolute opposite ends of the spectrum.
Well,
Walter is the most outgoing, has the most friends of any human I've ever known. Is, you know.
Well, I don't know. Owen's got a lot of friends too, and he's pretty outgoing.
He is pretty outgoing.
He is. He has become, as an adult, he has really become.
Has anybody else commented? I found it particularly ironic that your older son's name is Walt.
Yes, I
And the Walt Disney. And I thought it was a great. I love it when moments come full circle. And I'm not going to give away any of the particular poignant moments in the film, but the fact that there are two very pivotal moments with Walt that center around his birthdays. I thought that was particularly lovely from the director's point of view.
The Walt reference is completely coincidental, beautifully coincidental, but he is named after his grandfather, Walter Susskind, who was Ron's dad, who died when Ron was 14. So that was a prenuptial agreement. He was going to be Walter. I went right into the delivery room begging for anything else, but now it's my favorite name.
And for great reasons. Yeah. All the way around.
Yeah.
So where does life go from here, Cornelia, in terms of the film and where your sons are, your husband, where you are?
Yeah. Well, we have all been, four of us have been traveling around quite a bit to film festivals with the documentary film Life Animated. The film opened in New York and LA, as you mentioned, this past weekend. It's opening in Washington, D.C. this Friday, and Ron and I will go down with Walter to do Q&As after the open. Owen has gone back. Owen's been doing a lot of promotion, and he's just, you know, I was so worried that process of the film coming out and Owen being in the limelight would be very disruptive and disturbing to him. And it has absolutely been the inverse. I mean, I've been very careful, obviously, but he has grown so much. To see this kid, he's not a kid, I know, but to see Owen on these stages, running the Q&As, full, incredible, amazing answers.
And to think that this was once, you know, a nonverbal child, it gives such hope to our viewers, Cornelia.
I know, and it's just, you know, I often meet mothers of much, much younger children after screenings or book signings or film festivals, and it's obviously a very emotional experience for any parent who has a child on the spectrum. But what I say to these parents that I meet, and they say, you know, is there anything that I can hang on to? And I say to them very honestly, in a million years, I would never have imagined that Owen would be where he is right this minute. I mean, it isn't magic. It isn't, you know, there's no cure. I am in no way suggesting that. But the strides that he has made year by year, bit by bit, therapist by therapist, are just stunning to me. And he's just, so he has gone back to his his quiet life on Cape Cod. Not so quiet. He has 3 jobs. He works at Toys R Us. He works 1 day a week. He works at the Regal Cinema. And he worked at the animal shelter. And then he has his own radio show on the community college station on Cape Cod.
Love it.
And his name is DJ Animator, where he plays, guess what, Disney music. He's developed quite a following. So he's settling back into his quote-unquote normal life, and very happy to do so.
So what, when you say that these mothers come up to you and you say to them, you know, you had no idea how far your son would go, if you were to give any advice to, you know, some of our viewers out there who are in that despair, who are in those moments of, it's that dark tunnel, they don't see the light yet. What would you say to them, Cornelia? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have any kind of advice.
It's a very good question because, you know, with Owen being 25 and looking back on this road and going through the process of making the film, I really have thought a lot about what would I tell my younger self when I was going through the most difficult periods. And I would say, honestly, it sounds so pat, but have faith. Believe in yourself, believe in your ability to know your own child and to follow their joy, to get in there. And even though it seems silly and even though people will tell you it's not a good idea, I think believing and trusting in what your child is interested in and following that in whatever way can bring joy to him, her, and your family is the absolute key.
I'm sorry, I'm waving because a fellow autism mom has just walked into the outer part of the studio who has 2 sons on the spectrum, who is quite an inspiration, who is doing her own series of documentaries.
We might make her come in.
We might make her come in,
but we're running out of time. But I want to pause for a second, Cornelia, to just show the trailer to our viewers, and then we're going to come back to talk with you for a couple more minutes. Can you stay with us?
Terrific.
Okay, and so here is the trailer for Life Animated. You must see it. Here it is.
There is a boy who is just like other boys, until one night he sees from his window a storm on the horizon.
Howie, who are you?
I'm Peter Pan, and you can.
All of a sudden, at 3 years old, Owen vanishes. The doctor says, "Let me explain what autism is." Some of the kids don't ever talk again.
I remember thinking, I'm just gonna hold you so tight and love you so much that whatever is going on will go away.
We're beginning to give up hope. And one day, we're watching the Disney animated movies. And he says he doesn't want to grow up like Mowgli or Peter Pan.
What the hell just happened?
And all of a sudden it became clear to us. He's using these movies to make sense of the world he actually is living in, our world. So at that point, we began to speak to him in Disney dialogue.
When did you and I become such good friends?
Whatever works to get to Owen.
I've been scared my whole life of growing up. Peter Pan doesn't want to grow up because when you grow up, you lose all your magical childhood times.
My hope is that he is independent enough to be able to grow older on his own.
When I look in the mirror, I see a proud autistic man ready to meet a future that is bright and full of wonder.
He's going to have to fall and fail. We're not afraid of that as we used to be.
I just can't believe how far Owen has come.
The future, I'm still searching for it.
Who decides what a meaningful life is?
It's like I always say, children got to be free to live their own lives.
Welcome welcome back. We're just so busy kvelling. That's what we're all doing here.
And we just brought in Dana Thiero, another documentarian, and she saw the film. And what do you say to Cornelia?
Bravo. I mean, that slice of life spoke to me in so many ways. I saw different aspects of my children. I saw aspects of children of friends of mine. And my younger son actually rewound Disney movies, and we knew what he was talking about. It's a wonderful thing when they can communicate through another medium.
Yes. So Cornelia, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being with us. And I wanted to talk briefly about the fact that the film is out now in movie theaters. And is it wide release at this point, Cornelia?
It is. It's opening around the country, and if viewers go to lifeanimateddoc.com, DOC.com, you can see every city and where it will be opening. We'd love for everyone, all of the community, and all of your friends to see the film. An independent film is a high wire act under any circumstances, and we would love people to understand who our children are in a deeper way, and hopefully you will after seeing the film.
It's an important film.
And Shannon has a prediction.
And I said this earlier. I know I'm not the first person to say this, but I'm 100% sure that you are going to get an Academy Award nomination.
We're gonna see you out here in LA for the Oscars, and we want to get together. The three of us want to take you out for
mommy lunch.
A mommy lunch to talk about our lives before and after autism. Okay. When you come out for the Academy Awards.
It is.
Okay, we'll keep our fingers crossed.
It's already written.
And ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you
for bringing me and for talking about the film.
Oh, we so enjoy it. And I want to say this. I think, as autism moms, we so appreciate it. But I really want to say to all the autism moms out there, get your boyfriends, dads, and significant others to come and see this movie too, because it's an important film for the dads to see.
It's very important. Being a single mom, that was the thing I loved the most. I loved that the mom was capturing the moments of the son and the dad.
Yeah.
And the dad's connection and the dad's dedication is what made this film happen.
Yeah. Truly, truly lovely.
Yeah.
We loved your family, Cornelia.
Thank you for joining us, Cornelia. And are we out of town?
We're past time.
We're past time. We want to thank you for joining us. We want to thank all our viewers. We want to remember our favorite four-letter word, hope.
Yes.
And on behalf of autism moms everywhere,
give your kiddos a hug from us.
And yourselves a hug from us too.
Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye. And that's that. No, and we're still continuing on. That's the end of it. No. We're out of time.
We're out of time.
We're out of time.
Did we say
so
goodbye?
we did say goodbye, but we're still live. So I don't know whether we've had so many technical problems today. Maybe we're not capable of not being anything other than live. We're going to say goodbye one last time.
All right, you tell
Matt,
me,
are we
'cause I
able
don't
to
have
end?
IFB.
All right. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Are we not? There we go.